Hello, young voters. Welcome back to our second video in the series. Today, me and Sarah will be covering chapter 1 and 2 of Reform and Revolution. So hopefully you watched the intro video. If not, probably go watch that, otherwise you're going to be very confused.
Won't be that confused.
I mean, I think you'll probably be pretty confused. I would watch it. Recommend doing that. But hopefully you've read chapter 1 and 2. If not, probably go do that. They're not very long. Sarah, how many minutes did it take you to read that?
Like 10 to read both.
Okay, so it's not long. Go and read it because we are not going to be able to cover everything. Mostly because we don't really.
I didn't understand all of it.
Yeah, I read it a couple of weeks ago, so I don't remember, and I didn't understand everything. So these are just some. We're going to talk about some of the points that we understood or wanted to emphasize. So go and read it all, especially because we're not going to cover everything, and we don't want to make, decisions for you as to like what your opinion should be on the topic. We just want to add commentary and our own thoughts, but we want you to stay free thinkers. So, as Mr. Shapiro might say, or Mr. Crowder, or whoever else, Jordan Peterson, we want you guys to stay free thinkers, and just because we might completely misunderstand something, and you might just go your whole life, if you even remember this, thinking that Rosa meant this when she actually meant that, and we were just wrong. So go and read that, pause it, and pause this and come back. So, or if you've already read it, then we'll get started. So, chapter 1. In this chapter, she talks about credit and starts her takedown of Bernstein. And you have to understand at this point, her and Bernstein are basically trying to decide the ideology of what the German Social something party, SDP, SDP or SPD,
SPD.
SPD. Okay, I forget what that stands for, but basically, like the leftists in Germany, the largest leftist party in Germany, we're gonna do. They're trying to think of what their platform is, and Bernstein is suggesting a more, how would you say it, like a softer take. Okay, yeah. And so Bernstein was advocating for that, and then Rosa is obviously advocating for more of a revolutionary type aspect. So she's trying to take down his arguments and trying to prove to everybody that she is the right one and he's the wrong one. So she's going through sort of his essay or his essays and some points that he makes, and then she's trying to take him down. So Sarah, do you have anything to say to that? What I just said?
Not really.
Okay. So she starts off this chapter, or maybe she starts off, I don't know. It's just the first thing I wrote in my notes. She talks about credit, the credit system, and Bernstein evidently thinks that credit is good for capitalism, and she doesn't. So she talks about credit, and Bernstein, I guess, lays out the idea that with credit, with our credit cards, we can buy more than we can afford, meaning that there is more consumption going on, and there's more goods being bought, and that's good for the capitalist system, because it's based off the idea of infinite growth, where you can just infinite money can be created, which it sounds like really dumb, but it does make sense in a way. So, but credit basically extends how much growth is being created, and therefore creating more profits, which most of them go to the capitalist class, but some of them also go to the economy in general, to the working class, extending capitalism basically.
Rosa does not believe the same thing at all. She states that credit causes the funding for production to increase and the restricted consumption capacity of the market. So basically, credit leads to speculation and just bad things. And she's kind of confused because she believes credit goes against capitalism, and she doesn't really understand why capitalists, agree with it and think it's okay, because it literally is the antagonist of the capital market. So that's kind of weird.
And yeah, so she goes into that more in chapter 2. In this chapter, she also lays out how, so basically, Bernstein believes in more of the idea of social democracy, and he believes it's able to fix capitalism. Therefore, Rosa and Sarah, you can give the exact quote, but she doesn't believe that Bernstein would be advocating for socialism, because if he thinks social democracy can fix capitalism, then we can't have socialism if capitalism is fixed. So Sarah, what's the quote?
I don't have the full quote.
Okay, well,
But basically, just like if we live in a world where capitalism, can be just tweaked a little bit, then socialism is objectively unnecessary to Bernstein's point of view, which is obviously not what Rosa thinks, and not really what Bernstein thinks either. But
well, he thinks capitalism under social democracy can be fixed to a point where it's not really problematic and doesn't require the lengths that you have to take to go through revolution to create socialism. So he thinks that a fixed capitalism, in fact, is a better trade-off than a socialism that you have to fight for with revolution. I guess would be what he's thinking. And yeah, like Sarah said, Rosa obviously doesn't agree with this principle. One more thing from this chapter that I found interesting is, throughout history, people tend to frame ideas and things through, the, I guess, scientific discoveries at the time. So, for example, the Nazis, they had a huge obsession, I guess, with cleanliness. And they constantly talked about purging the human race of undesirables. And they always wanted to cleanse and clean the germs from society. And the reason why was, 10, 15 years ago, there had been large advances in medical, I guess, procedure. And a lot of emphasis on cleanliness was pushed, advocated for. And, obviously you clean wounds and then they won't get infected and you won't die from infection. So that was a whole new idea. And their ideology and ideas were kind of framed around that. So much so, actually, that the ghettos in Poland, they started closing a lot of them because they started spreading a lot of disease. And the Nazis really did not like spreading disease. So instead of killing Jewish people, they closed down the ghettos, and then they shipped them off to concentration camps. So they kind of did end up killing them. But they had so much of an obsession with cleanliness, they even put it beyond causing Jewish people to suffer, which I found interesting. And how this relates to this is they talk about scientific socialism a lot. And at this point, we had Darwin, making his foray and talking about, the idea of scientific theory of evolution and stuff like that. So I felt that was sort of an interesting historical tidbit. And I might guess that's maybe why they talk about a lot about how, like, science and rules of nature and stuff like that, because Darwin's ideas were making big waves at the time. So that's just something I want to mention. Sarah, do you have anything on chapter 1?
Just that Bernstein doesn't believe in the collapse of a capitalist society, and that in capitalism there's always going to be a means of adaptation, so they can, no matter what problem arises, they can fix it themselves. Rosa, as she does not believe in anything Bernstein says, does not believe in that either. And I think I agree with Rosa on that one.
Capitalist collapse specifically refers to some sort of event that I think all economists believe that will happen at some point, in which capitalism destroys itself entirely, not just a recession or something, but so dramatic that capitalism cannot come back from it, and it will either it will destroy itself completely, and there will be a crash or something so terribly bad, like such a catastrophic event, that capitalism will cease to exist, and either will be replaced by what the communists believe will be replaced by revolution, and then socialism, and then communism, or maybe the fascists believe it will be replaced by revolution and then a fascist government, I guess.
Has there ever been a capitalist collapse?
No, because then the whole world would be communist.
Oh, the entire world.
Yeah.
Do you think
This
it's
would be
possible
like
for the entire world to just no more capitalism?
never say never. I think over time anything is really possible, but that doesn't really mean anything, I guess. So I don't know. That would, if I were to say yes, then I should be a Marxist, is what I would say.
Weird. Okay.
But yeah, that's like a inherent principle. But she also talks about the boom and bust cycle. So yeah. So chapter 2. So like Sarah said, and this one she goes more into why she thinks capitalism cannot perpetually save itself. Bernstein uses the ideas of credit and cartels and stuff like that to say capitalism here is making itself better and increasing its profits, stopping the boom and bust, or delaying the boom and bust cycle, and maybe even is able to improve itself so much that it might delay the what Rosa believes to be the inevitable complete collapse of capitalism. So Sarah, I'll let you, because you were talking about this with me earlier about credit.
Oh, I kind of already said it earlier, but just that, I don't know, credit, she really talks about how credit doesn't aid to capitalism. And I personally don't understand why capitalists believe it does aid to it. You talked about it earlier and you explained it well, but I don't get it, because what Rosa said makes sense.
Okay, so why, I guess for the people who didn't read the book, why does Rosa think that credit is bad for capitalism?
Because it leads to speculation, and it's basically like there's just too much production and not enough. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay. So yeah, it leads to people spending money that they don't have, basically. And when people spend money that they don't have, they end up going into debt, which they can't pay back, which means that they can't buy anything anymore. So their value as a person is basically non-existent. They can only do labor, and they can't spend any of the money that they gain.
You think the value of a person diminishes if they can't spend any money?
Under the capitalist system of economy, yeah, your value as a person, I guess, is entirely attributed to the labor that you can do, and I guess the money that you spend using the gains from your labor.
That makes sense, but I hate it.
But
Continue.
yeah, that's why under a free market capitalist society, like people who are disabled or whatever just get to starve, or people who are too old to work, or just unable. If you're unable to work, then you starve. That's why
Oh my God.
free market capitalists would like not approve of the welfare system, because it means that there are mouths being fed that can't contribute.
Jeez. So do you think anyone who agrees with the welfare system is inherently against capitalism?
Inherently against free market capitalism, yeah.
If you're a capitalist and you're pro-welfare, leave a comment below. I want to know your opinion.
Why most of all capitalists are pro welfare.
Then they're not capitalists anymore.
Everybody. No, you can still be a capitalist and approve of the welfare system. You can be a capitalist and feel guilty for, I guess, your gains, and approve that the poorest can get something. You can still be a capitalist and have morality, I think. Yeah. You can have a moral compass. Doesn't mean you're right. I don't know. I guess to respond to what I guess you're thinking, but you can still be like a real person. I think I don't know what I was trying to conclude there, so
I don't remember either.
my apologies. But yeah, so credit, allows people to spend money that they don't have, creating debt, and it'll also, eventually put a bottleneck on commerce because the production increases, right? So when you have more people buying, when there's more demand, there's low supply, and therefore demand is also high and the prices go up. And then adjusts, and there's less demand, and now there's more production. And if the prices are high, then production will, or I guess supply will increase a lot because people want to make money. And now you have low demand and high supply, which means low prices, which means bad economy.
Mm-hmm.
So she's saying that credit artificially increases demand because people have more money to spend, and then they go into debt, and now they can't spend any money, so the demand goes down a lot, and then you're left with a ton of supply, which means now you have to sell for low prices, and then there's only so much you can get rid of, so there'll be a lot of full warehouses and a bad economy under credit. And we see that play out historically.
All the time.
And I think we were talking earlier, and you basically said for the cartels, and then the other thing that she mentioned basically are to the same effect, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Yeah, they create a bad economy, and a bad economy is bad for capitalism. All right, yeah. And then cartels are the same. And she also made a point about, I don't remember too specifically, but she made a point that I found interesting, that credit centralizes wealth inequality through debt. Do you remember what she was talking about there, Sarah?
Say it again.
Credit centralizes wealth inequality through debt.
I don't remember.
Okay. I forget exactly what she meant by this, but I think she meant I think she meant credit means that people who are rich have tons of money to spend, so they can repay their debt, but the working class can't. So when you're in debt, you're obviously taxed with interest. So that means that all your money goes to the people who own the banks, or are operating the companies that are collecting the interest, and that's generally, or that is always, the rich people, I suppose. So the rich people have no problem with the credit system because they can pay their debt, but the working class can't. And now all the working class's money is going to the 1% because they're slaves to their debt, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think that's what she was saying. Sorry,
That is right. Yeah.
a little bit since I read it. And then my last point, I just wrote economics, one word. Not sure what I meant by that in my notes, but economics.
No, I think it's so detailed. That's incredible that you read so much in just.
I wish I had wrote more.
Last thing I wrote was just boom and bust cycle, and now it's just never ending, and it keeps going forever and ever.
Oh yeah, do you want to talk about that?
I will try. I don't know that much about economics, if anyone out there couldn't tell, and I don't plan on learning more because I hate it and I refuse to learn it.
You should.
No, I think my plan's better.
Every good leftist should know about economics. That's my.
But I don't want to.
That's my thing.
I refuse.
Well, I know of this awesome political group. They do explanations of stuff. Yeah, they're called the Young something. I don't know the last word. Fill us in the comments. I don't. Maybe some of you in the comments might also follow this. But they do fantastic, amazing videos with amazing pundits, and they talk about a variety of things, including economics, from time to time.
That's crazy. Wow, I will learn so much from them. Okay, anyways, the boom and bust cycle. Basically, what Rosa says, it happens every 5 to 20 years. It's just like a recession or an economic crash. It's it's bad, and it's just inevitable, and it keeps going over and over again. And even capitalists can't find a way to make it stop. And that was like one of her final points in chapter 2 about why credit is stupid and, cartels and all of that. Just
Yeah.
because it does this.
I wish I could remember like how she relates the two, because I remember it being interesting. When I read it, I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I forget how she relates the boom bust cycle to credit and stuff like that. I don't know. I forget. I think that's everything. That's all the content, and that's, I guess, all my thoughts on it. I guess my final thing would be to ask you guys who have read it, how difficult was it to read? Because for me, oh damn, it's really complicated.
Yeah. Well, I found that sometimes she says like the same thing over and over again, and I think it makes it more confusing because she's just saying the same thing in different words.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
they're
just
using
big words.
yeah, they're using there's a lot of big words. I had to look up a bunch of stuff when I was reading this. So I'm wondering if me and Sarah are alone in this, or what about you guys? Because I definitely had to reread some sections and look up some stuff. It's challenging, but it's yeah, I mean she raises like, I guess, interesting points. I think she's doing a pretty good job of taking down Bernstein.
We really should have read Bernstein's thing before
Oh
this
well.
because it's just her trashing on him, and I believe her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll do more research on him at another time, I guess.
Yes. Let us know if you want the Bernstein essay reading
Ooh.
to accompany this series. Make two. But yeah, it's difficult reading. So good job if you read this chapter. If you haven't already, or these two chapters, if you haven't already, go and read them because they're interesting. It's interesting stuff. If you consider yourself a leftist, or you want to know, I guess, what leftists think, and this would probably be more like socialists and communists think, then read this and you'll know, I guess, because a lot of these points are what, and we talked about this in the intro video, but a lot of these points are what formed, socialist and communist movements. They believe this and they want to achieve this. So if you know that, then you can know what the socialists and the communists might do next. I mean, it's not really do next, but like throughout history, since all these since Marx and since all these people, ideologies basically stayed quite the same. So it's obviously they haven't gotten what they wanted yet. So the ideology is interesting in the way that there's a very specific ideology, and that's why there's so many different groups of leftists who think different things, because they interpret things in different ways or subscribe to specific people. But there's a clear set ideology that you have to get to, and it's incredibly difficult to get to, and that's how it's unique than other systems, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
Where I guess for fascism, they don't have really set ideology, which is why it's so difficult to define it. But yeah.
Yeah. I guess in conclusion for today, reform or revolution, Nico? Which side are you on right now?
Still on reform. What about you, Sarah?
Same. Revolution's just scary.
All right. Well, viewers, I hope you enjoyed. That's all I had to say. Other than that, remember, economics, one word. All you need to know about this entire book, economics.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, is there anything? No.
I love you. Bye.